Hello, and welcome back to Kaiserreich. Ooh, we're ready to go. Look at all our options. Ooh, options. Look at that. Very cool. That's pretty funny. United States may be all that's left to rebuke the Russian bear. Yeah, so these are... Anyways, we're in the middle of a lot of stuff. Including trying to capture Burita. Fighting on the side of Bulgarians in this war, which is pretty silly, but whatever. You know, it is what it is. The Romanians have made it to Varna. That is what interesting situation. I feel like we probably want to spend our blood. Land doctrines. Golly gee, do we think it's going to be superior firepower? Well, of course it is. There's an argument for Grand Battle Plan, but I don't care. Superior firepower. Though, what I really should have done is gotten the Spirit of Division Command. Though now I can get Smoke and Fire, which I suppose is probably better. Though I don't actually know. We're doing okay in Bulgaria. It didn't scurry up. Though this is like kind of a stupid attack that we're launching. We should probably just like try to push Varna, right? And then the Jabal Shamar. Do we want to just like push on to the capital? I feel like the answer to that is like yes. Alright. Madrid is not in immediate danger of falling. We're gonna go dash to Cartagena. I don't like that. The faction situation is like pretty bad for us, though. Counterpoint. The Benassam here is probably a net positive for the Reichspakt, because it can let them kind of not worry about, just like to lock down Alsace-Lorraine and that's it. Anyways. American forces depart the MOJ. American descends once more into the Civil War. Douglas MacArthur is given the order to recall all active American personnel from Palestine to reinforce the home front. Having served as one of the most important partners in the international gendarmerie since its inception in 1920, after all, the United States made its forces even more thinly stretched than before. As the situation further deteriorates, German troops have been unwilling to fully retreat as public support in Germany for their involvement reigns high. Johnny is marching home again. Second American Civil War. Oh boy. Mexico has joined the Third International. Fall of New York City. Honestly, I'm not necessarily feeling super great about the situation that we have found ourselves in here. Oh, so many buttons. Okay. Appoint Arab Walis. Probably good, right? Do Ministry of Religious Affairs first. What? Baghdadi students protest difficult maths questions. A couple of schools in the city of Baghdad have bound together in pursuit of a common enemy, maths. Or math. If you know, aren't weird. In some places, even supported by their teachers, close to 100 students have come out onto the city streets to protest against the difficulty of their mathematics exams, which are enforced under the national curriculum. It's not the first time this has happened in Baghdad. It's unlikely to be the last. Just the education ministry is ignoring their demands, claiming they're just lazy students who should stop wasting their time protesting and instead devote that time to their studies. Bro. I don't really care about that. I'm gonna try that. If we can take back Varna. Okay. Reform of the Ottoman Gendarmerie. After the abolition of the Janissary Corps in the early 19th century, a variety of military organizations were established in order to ensure order and stability in the provinces of Rumelia and Anatolia. With the proclamation of the Tanzimat reforms in 1839, these organizations were combined into the Gendarme, the Ottoman Gendarmerie. Serving with distinction in Rumelia after the 1908 revolution on the battlefields of Anatolia during the Weltkrieg, the by then rebranded Gendarme Commandantly. Gendarmerie General Command has proven its worth and was drastically expanded to the various Arab and Kurdish provinces. One of the issues brought with this is, however, a general complaint from many non-Turkish citizens that the gendarmerie, especially in the higher positions, almost solely recruited from Turkish citizens, and as such couldn't be counted as non-discriminatory organization. To solve this issue, the HIF has tabled a proposition to revise recruitment standards to utilize more Arab manpower for the Corps. This has led to protests from Turkish nationalists who see this loosening of standards as a liability and potential threat to the security of the Arab vilayets should revolts escalate. Thorough reform, or token Arabs. I think thorough reform is a risk worth taking, though. I agree that they're not reliable. I don't know if that's useful. See, this is good. Let's revise the missile. Try that. Education of the gendarme. Throughout the 19th century and the early 20th century, the exact status of the gendarmerie has often changed to the last decree, dating back to the 1909 when the organization was put under the authority of the Ministry of War. Recognizing their tremendous success, the Corps has massively expanded under the Kemalist regime, but retained its close ties with the military, which made many in the then opposition believe that as long as the two remained united, the Corps couldn't have an unbiased stance. Proposal put forward in 1935 in which their education would be integrated within the War Academy just barely refused. Once more shows the intentions of the OHF to create a monopoly on security and defense loyal to their cause. To solve this potential threat, the Grand Vizier has proposed the gendarmerie be detached from the Ministry of War, brought under the Ministry of the Interior, and their training be done separate from the main Ottoman army. Furthermore, he also proposed the creation of academies in Beirut, Baghdad, and Aleppo in an attempt to incorporate more Arabs into the Corps. Yeah, I think that's fine. We don't lose that much army XP. Bruh. Okay. The Barzani insurrection in Iraqi Kurdistan. The Barzani tribe is fighting back against the growing loss of power in the empire. As a coordinated effort by the Ottoman army and air force has been slowly pushing them out of their territories towards Iran. The Barzanis, led by the charismatic Mustafa Barzani, have long been fighting against the Porte, which in recent years was responsible for the death of both his father, grandfather, and two brothers in failed insurrections over the last decades. The combination of air power responsible for the bombardment of dozens of villages and a land offensive by the army, however, seems to be now breaking the final resistance. The sheer force of the modern arsenal brought by the Pashtashah's finest is overpowering what little resistance can still be offered. Other Kurdish tribes, long rivals of the Barzanis, have also granted support in the form of irregular Turkish forces in the hopes of acquiring Barzani lands once the rebels have been finally put down. Soon the pathetic attempts will be silenced for good. Ideally, that remains true. Hawaii is doing the co-prosperity sphere. Yeah, as it is. We're gonna crunch these guys first. Okay, that's working. We're gonna. Is that the Latvians, huh? Okay. Sure. And we're gonna try to cross the river here. Mars! My favorite planet. Syndicalism spreads to the Philippines. Oh dear. Famine in Tripolitania! Always left to the mercy of rain, Tripolitania has suffered from an especially bad year, which has caused havoc to the harvest. The steady population growth from the last 2 decades has only exacerbated the situation's relief from Greater Syria, and Anatolia is unable to fully cope with the crisis. Reports from Cyrenaica and Fezzan indicate the issue is less severe there, as the Green Mountains seemed to have mostly been spared. With the agricultural exports of the nation's main source of revenue now almost entirely gone, the government of Tripolitania has requested a decrease in taxes and further assistance from the Ottoman Center. Yeah, we'll help. Okay, Philippine socialists, that is what it is. Canada versus Panama. Interesting. How are we doing in Spain? I feel like the critical rail junction there is probably where we want to spend some of our resources. Alright, looks like Shamar is finally capitulating, or Shamar is finally breaking through. We love to see it. Panama Canal crisis. The balance of power is at stake. Doesn't seem much of a humongous need. No longer get the effects of Ra. That's good. Okay. I should consider pressing some additional buttons to appoint some Arab walis. Who needs stability? Not me. Last voyage of the Gul Jemal, built in 1874 by Harland and Wolff in Belfast, and originally nicknamed Germanic, is one of the originally nicknamed Germanic is one of the best-known ships in the Ottoman Empire. Starting her journey under the Ottoman flag in 1910, she provided postal service to the Black Sea region until the start of hostilities in 1915. Afterwards, the ship was served with great distinction as an ammunition troop transport until she was torpedoed by the British Navy. She is, however, known for her best for operations in the Aegean after the fall of Greece, in the reparation of many Turks to the Dodecanese, for being the first Ottoman vessels to reach the shores of America in 1921, where she proudly showed her Turkish flag. Despite her admirable feats, the ship has started to show its age, and after 53 years of service, she now has embarked on her final voyage to Toronto, where she'll be scrapped. We are grateful for her service. Basically, this is not relevant. Mysaurus annexed. Ripperoni. Oh dear. The future of Ottomanism. Ottomanism, or the idea that all citizens identify with a shared Ottoman identity above their regional subgroups, such as Turk, Arab, etc., has been one of the most influential ideas in the empire since the early 19th century. Far before the Young Turks took control after the Constitutional Revolution, the Young Ottomans were a group of reformers in the latter half of the 19th century that attempted to foster this identity. Seeing in it the solution to the rise of nationalism amongst their subjects, the idea in practice remained mostly unsuccessful, as various Christian groups never accepted as their own, and pan-Islamism turned out to be a far more effective way to keep the Arabs and Kurds in check. The subsequent loss of massive swaths of Ottoman territory, starting in the 1870s, caused further great harm to the idea, as with the losses incurred during the First Balkan War, the Christian group found itself greatly reduced. The idea, at first held highly by the Young Turks, quickly lost prominence, as in its place nationalism rose. Greek nationalists, Armenian nationalists, Arab nationalists, even Turkish nationalists had conflicting opinions on the future of the empire. And through their actions, the hope for a Ottoman identity free from religion have almost been completely shattered. Nonetheless, the idea never disappeared, and with the Young Turks drifting more and more towards Muslim nationalism, the liberal opposition used it as a counterproposal to an even stricter policy. With Prince Sabahattin now in charge, the ideas return to the forefront, as his ideas of a severely decentralized empire want to encourage a unified Ottoman identity above regional identification. Whether this policy is realistic, though, is far less certain, as many important sociologists have pointed out that the turning point has already been crossed, and a radical change in education policy to account for this identity would run to the opposite. The idea of a decentralized policy interesting. Whoopsie. Golly gee willikers, that's no good. Well. I have a nasty tendency to make that happen, but I see right now an opportunity. Galati is not the most important. Oh dear. Oh dear. Revision of the Ottoman Civil Code. The civil codes we've used since the Tanzimat era, or the Masel Code, was first codified in 1877. Based on Islamic Hanafi legal tradition, the code was the first enforcement of unified law over all Ottoman citizens who previously, according to the millet system, used their own codes. For decades, this code has remained mostly unchanged in the eyes of many, still an ancient relic of a bygone era. It is based on Islamic law. Many of the reformists have protested against it, as they feel religious law has no place in a modern secular state. Christians and Jewish citizens who previously used their own legal system remain discontent with it as well, and have urged the government to reform, if not replace, the dated code. For some, however, the issue lies not within the code itself, with a solid document perfectly applicable to the Sunni Muslim subjects within the empire. I believe the problem is that the non-Muslim subjects are also being tried under it, and that instead of enforcing a Sharia-based legal system on all citizens of various communities should be able to govern their own affairs. Therefore, they propose to introduce a secular code which will be deliberately left abstracts on the local level. The various millets can choose to fill in the gaps and govern themselves according to their own traditions and needs. Others see in this a catastrophe in the making. As the purpose of the Missel in the 19th century was to get rid of the legal complexities and put all citizens under one code of law. They instead proposed to introduce a new secular Ottoman civil code, which would be used by all citizens, no matter their religion, which would make all citizens equal under the law, something that's receiving the great support from the benches of the OHF. I mean, the logic of equality before the law is kind of hard to argue with. Where is... Oh, just get it. That's fine. Equality before the law. We need to get new friends. Yeah, we're running low on deputies. Okay, we don't quite have enough. Man, I don't want to cheese people off, but it is what it is. Well, Miri land sales. It'll irritate the conservatives, but it is what it is. Costa Rica's joined the Entente. Okie dokie. Great. Okay. We have unfuzzled our lines. We did it. We're heroes. Actually, I kind of want to hold the Potosi oil fields. It's like pretty valuable land. Try doing that. Okay, it's a very silly front line, but we have done it. The question is, do we want to, like, try to push Bucharest? I think that's probably the play here, right? Silly frontliner, no. Austrian Empire declared war on Hungary. That seems bad for us, because we are relying somewhat on the Austrians. How are we doing in Spain? Eh. I'll take it. How are we doing in Shamar? Okay.
Emirlerinizi bekliyorum. Mesafenizi koruyun.
How are we doing in Bulgaria? That could be doing better. Rising sun, troubling. Boy, it sure is. I mean, if they want to retreat, I'm more than happy to let them do that. Oh, man. Education issues in southern Iraq. Ugh. All bad. Troubling reports have reached us from southern Iraq, where parents appear to stop their children from attending state schools due to fear of Sunni indoctrination. These citizens, predominantly following the Shiite faith, are, as such, obstructing education of their children, and enlarging the social divide between the Sunni and Shia Arabs. As this limits their future abilities, little has been done by the Iraqi administration that further plays into their Sunni superiority policy, stares directly at Iraq, which in recent years has led to a significant decrease in Shiite officials. Furthermore, they also claim that without education, these people remain apolitical, forming no threat to their own positions. Well, it's time to, encourage further enlistment. Yay, we did it. Fall of Riyadh. Fall of Riyadh. As the Saudis were once driven back by the forces of Muhammad Ali in the 19th century, so now have the emirs of the north driven the Saudis out of their capital in Riyadh. Arabians all across the peninsula, from Halil to Medina, rejoice as the Wahhabists have once more been dealt a powerful blow. The union of Arab forces against the Najd, however, greatly troubles the governors of the southern vilayets, as they fear that this show of Arab cooperation and the enthusiasm of the volunteers who partook in the fighting may give rise to increased Arab nationalism. Once more, we recognize the Rashidi victory. Yay. Well, assuming that that's good for us, which it might not be, but again, it is what it is.
Hazırım efendim.
I mean, I think encircle the city seems like the play.
Hazırım.
To the point where I'm like, basically we only need to hold the
Harekete
sea.
hazırım.
Which is kind of critical.
Hazırım.
Travancore. Oh, well, that no longer is the case. It's never gonna happen. Well, it might happen, but... Middle Europa vote impending. I can press more buttons. Ugh, I hate reverting social reforms. But, like... I need to get more... I need to get more of the conservatives on this side. You need to not go any further than that. Okay.
Kulak verin.
Just delete all of this nonsense. The
Emirleriniz.
thing we need to focus on is sieging down Bucharest and knocking it out of the fight.
Hazır ol.
Alright, our volunteers have returned home.
Gitmeye hazır.
Huzzah. We have probably strengthened our hand, but, you know, God only knows.
Efendim.
Oh dear. Urban combat is miserable, but it really can't be helped. We'll do multi-level demand. I don't really like doing that, but... Oh my gosh. I like how we implemented a bunch of... We're implementing specialized desert regiments. Fall of Bucharest! A grave blow to Romanian ambitions. And with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.